For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Martin Zhuwakinyu. Columnist Jens Pedersen joins me in studio to discuss the ongoing hostilities between Sudan and South Sudan. Jens, it's nice to host you once again in studio.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, shall we talk about the hostilities between Sudan and South Sudan? Negotiations, aimed at bringing about peace between the two neighbors seem to have yielded, nothing in terms of tangible results, which obviously reflects badly on the African Union as a broker, is trying to bring about peaceful coexistence between the two countries. What would be the main criticism of the African Union's approach?
Well, first of all, the African Union, or the African Union High Implementation Panel, as it's called, have not had an easy job in facilitating these negotiations and bringing about agreements, but some legitimate criticism, I would say, has been targeted towards the AU High Implementation Panel. Criticism concerning that the AU has been more focused on process than delivering outcomes, as you say, tangible results from the negotiations. And another point of criticism has been that when pressure has been need to be exerted on the different parties, AU has perhaps had more carrots than actual sticks to use, so they have been unable to provide tangible pressure on the two parties.
Now, in that respect, you are talking about carrots and sticks. Would you say that they are being biased more in favor of South Sudan or North Sudan?
Well, South Sudanese People Liberation Movement have certainly criticized the head of the African Union High Implementation Panel, former President Thabo Mbeki, for being biased and questioned his role. Now, as a mediator, it's imperative to be trusted by both parties. So obviously that raises questions from the SPLM and perhaps in general about his role as well. With regards to the African Union High Implementation Panel, it kind of raises a point whether a revision to some extent is necessary, not necessarily scrapping the African Union High Implementation Panel, but looking critically at what further support, what other actors could assist in facilitating this to further empowering the AU High Implementation Panel.
I see. Now, this being the case, what do you see going forward?
Well, the African Union roadmap is certainly a good start. It calls for a deadline for cessation of hostilities. It calls for a deadline for resolving the outstanding issues of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. Now, the crucial point in this is, of course, the deadline needs to be adhered to, and some pressure is needed in that regard.
I see. And what is the outcome of our negotiations in the context of conflicts between the two Sudans?
Well, in Sudan in general, there have been various outcomes. We know from Darfur that many peace negotiations have resulted in not necessarily a lot. With regard to negotiations between Sudan and South Sudan, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement from 2005 was a major achievement, but as we've mentioned, some of the most profound aspects of the Comprehensive Peace Agreements and some of the tensions in between the two countries remains unresolved.
What is the alternative response?
Alternative, I think I would use the word augmented rather than alternative. I think there is a need for multiple actors to support the African Union High Implementation Panel, whether that being IGAD, a regional body. The UN Security Council very recently approved a resolution supporting the African Union roadmap that was proposed. Now, that support from the wider international community needs to be maintained. The Comprehensive Peace Agreement was meant to be comprehensive, and now a comprehensive response and comprehensive ongoing attention needs to be paid to the issues between the two countries.
I see. And finally, Jens, in your opinion, what is at the center of the hostilities between the two countries, and what must be done, what needs to be done to overcome them?
Well, we know from many of the conflicts in Sudan and in South Sudan as well, that at the heart of these conflicts or tensions are issues such as governance and marginalization, usually of peripheral regions. And it seems to be the case that many actors in the international community respond to the issues of Sudan in an ad hoc basis and address issues individually. So there is, as said, a further need for a more comprehensive response to it, and there is a need to understand that currently the governments, both in Juba and Khartoum, are facing quite existential challenges in terms of financial issues, governance issues, security issues as well, and such existential considerations needs to be brought into the picture as part of a more comprehensive response.
Thank you so much for your time, Jens. That was Jens Pedersen discussing the current conflict in the Sudans. I'm Martin Zhuwakinyu.